Hi, I'm Carl Lucci, founder of the I Refuse to Fail Partnership. And at our weekly free networking events, we have one of our partners come up with a business topic that we hopefully will help everybody out. And we have an open discussion. These are not edited. And so we never know what we're going to get. But, if people participate, they're going to be seen because we put this on LinkedIn and other platforms and our YouTube channel. And if anybody would like to attend one of our events, you can go to irefusetofail.com over here. And you can sign up and come to one of our free events and you can participate. Maybe you can answer some questions during one of our discussions. So today I've got one of our I Refuse to Fail partners, Colleen Stubbs, with Simplified CEO Systems. And Colleen, what are you going to talk about today? I'll just let you take it over.
Thank you, Carl. It is always good to be here with you. Today we're going to talk about mentorship and how that is evolving or how it should be evolving inside your business. So I think as online entrepreneurs, most of us think of mentors kind of like coaches, somebody that we would get in a call with maybe once a month, twice a month. They would see things that we don't see, share things with us, maybe share tips and tricks, but see the blind spots in our business, share their expertise that way, not necessarily hands-on in our business. And so I'm going to start by sharing a little story with you. And if you've heard this before, then just bear with me. But I'm going to tell you the Jamie story, I call it. Back when I had Chicken Lips Boutique, heat transfer t-shirts became really popular. And I loved everything about them. I bought multiple heat presses and had hundreds of blank t-shirts and hundreds of heat transfers. And you just press them on a t-shirt to get the design put onto the t-shirt. They're still very popular today. Back then, it was just brand new. And so I made a lot of these. But what happened is some of the ladies in the community in my small town I live in realized how easy it was to actually do this and how inexpensive a heat transfer press was. And so different people bought them and started doing them out of their house and started pricing them lower than mine. And so they were selling more. And I sat with shelves with hundreds of blank t-shirts on them. And so obviously that was a problem. I bought these to sell them. And so I had to get creative and come up with a different way of doing things. In doing that, I talked to one of my collaborators, and she was actually making a jacket for John Legend at the time. And I said to her, I can't believe people are paying that much money for a jacket that is going to fall apart when they wash it. Because what she was doing was taking rhinestones and beads and sequins and gluing it on the jacket and making a design. And she was like, oh no, we have this special trick. We use a special glue that's actually for boats to glue it on and nothing ever falls off. And I was like, oh, that's brilliant. On top of that, she showed me where to order the same rhinestones, bling, sequence, things like that. So I decided that I would start putting these on t-shirts to make my t-shirt stand out above everybody else's. It was an inexpensive fix, cost me about $1.50. And so I did a few of these, but I needed to market them and get the word out because people weren't coming into my shop to buy them anymore. And so I made them for the basketball team's players' parents, so their moms. Did them all themed around the Liberty Eagles, which is our local high school team, and blinged them really cute, gave them to them, and asked them to please wear them to the games. And if anybody asked where they came from, to refer them back to me. Great marketing plan. It worked amazing. As a matter of fact, I ended up with so many shirts that needed blinged. So many, and I'm not a good blinger. I can do it, and I do a really good job, but it takes me forever. And in walks Jamie, who is one of the employees at Chicken Lips, and she wanted to see what I was doing. And so I showed her, and she loved it. And I showed her how to do one t-shirt, and then we both took a t-shirt and started it. By the time I finished my t-shirt, she had already finished 4. And then I had a lot to learn. And so when she jumped in and did that, I realized that she was the expert in this, not me. I owned the business. She's the expert. And so I learned from her. I learned how to do things quicker, how to design it better, how to get it exactly where your design says. All of these things that she had knowledge of that I didn't have knowledge of. So she went from just being one of my employees to becoming a mentor in that area that she was an expert in. What that did for me was I was able to raise the price of the t-shirts by $10 and started selling them for $29.99 instead of $19.99. And the cost only had gone up $1.50. And suddenly I was the only person in town with this knowledge and doing this. And so people were able to come in my shop and buy these. So how does that make her a mentor? Well, because I had to learn from her expertise. One of the things that I teach my clients to do inside Simplified Go High Level is learning to delegate things. But just delegating them is one viewpoint. The more important way to look at it is, as the owner of the business, you need to know how to do all of the things. So we're redefining today what a mentor actually is. It's not just a monthly call with someone who gives you tips or gives you advice on how you should approach things. It's actually an expert that you can bring in to execute while you're learning the entire process well enough to run, direct, and grow this area of your business as the owner. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, good.
Yeah, I've got a comment on mentorship anyway. I've mentored a lot of people. Okay. I don't even charge from a business consulting, so I guess I'm kind of a mentor. But I think there's a great value in mentors. It's kind of changed though. It used to be a mentor was somebody that didn't charge. Now people that are coaches call themselves mentors. I mean, paid coaches, and they call that. So it's kind of changed. But a true mentor, I think, is somebody that's willing to help you regardless of fee, you know. And I've been very fortunate to have great mentors. My dad was a great mentor in business. My first job, the owner of the company, I've been very fortunate to have worked for some multimillionaires, and they were happy to share how they made it. And a lot of people think that they wouldn't want to share their secret sauce. No, when they're successful, they want everybody to know it. They want to brag about it. And I mean, the Auto Trader publication, everybody in this room probably knows that story that I've told. I used to work for the founder of that, and he made a ton of money, and he told me exactly the secret sauce. And I've been able to use that to mentor other people by the things that I've learned. And I have a rule of thumb that I think you should always try to meet with and get to know, like, and trust people that you feel are smarter than you or know something that you don't know, because I'm older than water and I'm still learning. And I think that Colleen, I really think that that's important. I mean, how do you feel about that?
No, I would agree. And I think that the key is that as a business owner, you need to know how to do the things. You need to be able to learn, and you need to be humble enough to want to learn, because you do need to be able to do it if somebody else can't. But what sets you apart is the ability to delegate, because you know the process or you know how it should be done. And so then you can hand it to somebody who's maybe better at it, more efficient, whatever that looks like in your business. And it doesn't matter if it's ads or if it's sweeping the floor. From any viewpoint, you can hire and delegate to people who are better than you and then learn from them. And that's the key. So there are red flags and things that we want to watch for, of course, when we're hiring and when we're doing this. And one of those things is that we want to make sure that you're not hiring somebody who, like you said, won't explain their work. And most successful people will explain their work because they're in love with what they do and they want to share it. And if you're hiring somebody to come in and do ads, then their business should be ads. And so they should want to talk to you about it. Let's just using ads as an example there. But also you want to make sure that you're not dealing with someone who you don't hear from after they've been paid, right? Or who leaves you clueless about how things coordinate. It wouldn't do me any good to hire Jamie to come in to do these t-shirts if I didn't understand the washing instructions that I need to pass on to the clients, right? And so she has to share all the information with me. And there can't be a guard around it. And so as the owners of the business, we have to be teachable and interested in learning, but also know when we're not needed to do the thing. That's the trick. And I think it's a hard flip, because sometimes as business owners, we feel like we have to do everything, but being able to hand it off is hugely important in our success. Like we were talking about earlier, some people just have a business just to stay busy instead of actually being productive and doing things that are going to move the needle in their business. And that's what we want to do. So, what we're looking for when we're looking for a mentor or an expert that we can delegate to within our business is someone who is willing to show you why things work, not just
Yeah,
how.
I agree with that. I think Oleg had something he wanted to say. Oleg?
Yes, just kind of a somewhat rhetorical question, but I just wonder what your opinion is. There's tons of people out there who do this coaching and so on and so forth, just like you said, and many have the attitude of, we'll fake it until we make it, that type approach. So how do you look at these kind of people? And a lot of times you don't even know them. Finding somebody who's sure. I mean, in your case, the example with Jamie obviously was very clear that she was the kind of person that you could use as a mentor for that particular function. But if it wasn't that clear, how do you deal with that?
I think that, it's the same process as when you're hiring anybody to do anything, or even like we were talking about earlier, even getting on somebody's podcast or something like that. You have to do your research. You have to know them. And of course, that's going to start with building relationships. And a sure tell sign is if you feel like you're a number, you're probably a number. And what I mean by that is if they're just pushing the sale, and not offering any supporting evidence as to why it's important or the changes that you can expect to see, then it's probably more about the dollar sign. They're going to be the people that leave when they're paid, not the people that have a vested interest in your business and doing well in your business. And that's important across all the board. When you hire an admin, when you hire VAs, it has to be people who are willing to work with you and integrate in your business. You can see that in their testimonials. You can go back through their work, and you should never be afraid to ask if you can speak to their prior clients or their current clients. And I have people ask me that, and I refer them readily to speak to people I've worked with so that they can understand. But that's our job as the owners, to make sure that we've validated these people before we hire them. Like, we really have verified where they're coming from and whether or not they can do the thing. But then also there's the graceful part of walking away and making sure that we don't, as owners, get stuck in that I want to avoid conflict. And so I'm going to just let them keep doing their thing. And I did that before. When I hired somebody to work on my first website, and she went in and changed all my fonts, and I was like shocked, and I hated it, and I didn't dare say anything. And I just thought, I'll wait till she's all done and done working with me, and then I'll go back in and change it back. I would have been further ahead to just say that doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
The truth of the matter is there's somebody for everybody, and it's okay
Yeah.
to say that doesn't work for me.
Okay, Lisa?
Well, I love, Colleen, what you said about allowing somebody who worked for you to mentor you in a moment, right? That strengthens. It's one of the things I teach in my Meetings That Matter program, is that when you allow the people who are working with you to share insights, ideas, and their skill set, and you help to move them into the place where they work the best, not only do you as the owner or leader get to shed responsibility and allow for things to happen, but you also start to generate creativity between you and your team. And the new now famous saying is 1 + 1 is 11, right? When you take your ideas and you allow them to really get creative with their ideas, you get insights that you've never had before. You get creativity by blending that you'd never thought possible. I can't tell you how many times my husband and I have been trying to do projects on the farm, and he approaches things completely differently than I do. Completely differently. And when we come together with our ideas, we usually end up doing something easier and better than what we would have done individually. And that happens also with coaching and mentoring. I would also say that I will not hire a coach who does not have coaches. Even Tony Robbins has coaches. The world's quote unquote greatest coach in the world for a while now, he still has coaches. He still has people he goes back to for mentorship. And if he's feeling like he's having a gap of learning in his life, he goes out and decides to write a book so that he can learn more and have an excuse to go learn from other people. So to speak to what Oleg said, yeah, there's a lot of people out there right now who are calling themselves coaches, but they don't have coaches and they haven't been coached. And so going to a webinar is not having a coach. Paying somebody to coach you and help you improve, that's having a coach. Having a mentor who's been there and been more successful than you've ever been yet, that's having a coach. So it's not that you always have to put money out, but it has to be a concentrated, purposeful effort towards your own education as well as the support of others at the same time. I'm mentoring at an incubator right now up in Gainesville, and I'm struggling with mentoring there because they don't support the mentorship. They don't support their members in connecting to the mentors to get them what they need. And their answer is, well, they should know what they need. Well, I beg to differ. We don't know what we don't know, and none of us want to be wrong. So a lot of us are afraid to put up our hand and ask for a gap that we don't even know we have, right?
Yeah, I
Absolutely.
agree. I
And
agree with you.
I would take that a step further too, Lisa, and say that, you know, there's a lot to be said for surrounding yourself with people who are better than you are. And so when I had Chicken Lips Boutique, let's say, I hired a team, but I never came in and said, I'm hiring a cashier, come do this. I'm hiring a salesperson, I'm hiring shipping. I would hire people as a team member and then see where they fit in and where they excelled and have that become their area of expertise. And then everybody learn from them. But as I'm learning from them, they're also learning my business better. And that makes a big difference too, because you want people who want to learn your business better so that they understand the full picture, so they understand why you're doing things. And that is definitely super important. Now, when you're hiring people and you know that you're going to be learning from them, I think that makes it easier to hire somebody that is scads ahead of you in that area of expertise, right? So if I'm going to hire somebody that does ads, I don't want to hire somebody that just started ads or who's been doing ads as long as, for a year or something. I want to hire the very best person that I can get for them, that I can afford for it. And then I want to learn from them while they're doing it for me and while they're learning my business. Every step of the way needs to be a learning process for everybody. And when we do that, then we shine our light better and stronger as a group, as a collective, right? So we need to know the process, but make sure that we're hiring the specialist and make sure that we're continually learning. That's the way that we get to stay the CEO in our business.
Colleen, on the other side of the trying to get a mentor, but if you're going, I see a lot of power in being a mentor. I think it's really good for the mentor. Okay. Number one, it reaffirms what you're doing a lot of times because you don't always think about it, and it reaffirms it. But I can remember when I worked in retail back in another life when I was first got my first job, and I became a manager of the company. There were managers ahead of me, and I had a man, and I used to teach everybody that was under me or train everybody everything that I knew, everything from the books to how to do this, how to do that. And I had a manager scold me one day of mine. Why would you tell them, train them to do all this? And I said, well, if I'm not here, I want to make sure things are taken care of. I don't want to have to worry about somebody not knowing what needs to be done. I said, that was my reasoning to mentor these people. And they said, yeah, but they're going to be gunning for your job. Well, if I have to feel that uncomfortable, that I'm not that good at my job, that I have to worry about somebody doing what I'm doing or doing, taking, I've told people in workshops before, steal from me. Anything you can get, take it and use it. Okay. It doesn't belong to me, just take it. And it's part of the mentorship type thing. And I just think it's, I think it comes back to you tenfold when you help people. I really do.
I agree with that. So one of the things that I try to do with my clients, actually I do with all of my clients, is I tell them that this is a done for you service. I do all of it for you. And then I teach you how to do it. Now, At the end of the day, I want you to be able to do it. If you had no connection with anybody else and you needed an automation built, I want you to be confident in your ability to do it. Now, if you should choose to hire somebody to do it, you also then know why you need it and where it fits in your business and exactly what it is that you want it to do. And that's important as well. And so the idea is to make sure that we're arming ourselves with the knowledge. The knowledge is what sets you apart. When you hire somebody to come in and do ads, they're not necessarily going to know everything about shipping, and they're not going to know everything about candle making, but they're going to know all the different parts of your business a little bit, just enough to be dangerous, right? Just like everybody else. But as the owner, you have to know all the processes. You don't need to be the one to implement them, and you actually stunt your growth when you take on that label of having to know everything and do everything yourself. The idea is to have the knowledge and then have the confidence to put it into an SEO or an SOP or create a Loom video and be able to delegate it to the very best person.
Okay. Lisa, why don't we take yours and we'll wrap this up.
I mean, I totally agree with that. One of my heroes is Tony Hsieh. If any of you know Tony Hsieh from Zappos, he took over Zappos and he did exactly what Carl's talking about. When you go to Zappos to get a job, you spend 2 weeks in each department in the business. Now, he hires you for a specific job. At the end of your training period, he gives you the option to walk away today with a severance package or to stay on and work for the company. He is known as having the best work environment in the world. People love to be there. It's like a party. They want to be there. I want people working for me in the place where their passion is burning and thriving. So I may hire somebody for something, but if I find out their skill set and their passion is somewhere else and I have space for that, that's where I'm going to ask them if they want to go, because I want them to be passionate. I agree with Colleen. You need to have an understanding of what's going on in your business, and everybody in your operation should have an understanding of what everybody else has to do. When I ran my insurance agency, there was no way for me to have my customer service agents work in customer service in the insurance company. But I would have them have conversations with those agents so they got a better understanding of what those people had to do to get them the answers that they needed, so that they didn't get frustrated with things not happening or they didn't understand how long things should take. It's important to know what the time frame should be. I've hired people who have drug out a 2-hour job for 2 months just because I didn't know enough about how long it should take. And so it is important to understand the metrics. And nowadays it's much easier because you can plug it into various AI and kind of get an estimate of if somebody's highly skilled in this job and here's the parameters, how long should it take them to complete it? And then you give it some flexibility. AI isn't always correct. I understand that, but at least it gives you an idea or an insight into something you may not know anything about.
I absolutely agree. So know the process, hire the specialist, and stay in your lane as the CEO.
All right. Well, thanks, Colleen. Good topic. And hope that gave some information to people out there that may need a mentor or want to mentor other people. I think it's just a valuable tool to use in anybody's business for anyone. But so we're going to wrap this up and finish this video. And like I said before, anybody who wants to attend one of our events, go to refusetoffail.com, sign up, and you can partake in some of these conversations we have. And we're going to post this on our website, through our YouTube channel and on LinkedIn and various other outlets. So with that, we're going to stop this recording.